Welcome to another episode, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights, here with Dave Sliepka. As you can see from the title of the episode, excited about visiting with Dave about his hobby journey, how we've intersected over the years, and are going to enjoy time today. But we've got sponsors to thank: Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, ComC.com, Burbank Sports Cards, Mike's Stadium Sports Cards, Heritage Auctions, Huggins & Scott Auctions, Panini, Tops, and Upper Deck. My guest here has worked with or for several of those, and certainly had business dealings with almost all of them, I would think. Dave, have you done about everything in the industry?
Just about. And I was just listening to that list, and I was thinking, I'm current customers of just about all of those. Probably not as much of Heritage and Huggins as I would like, but that's because of budget, not because because of respect. But I think I'm definitely a customer of most of those, or all of those. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we've got a great group of sponsors, but we're here today to talk about the interaction with the wonderful intersection that we had almost 30 years ago, where tell us about your journey, how you even got to that point of where we met in Chicago, and then you later came to work down here in Dallas.
Sure.
What was your hobby background, growing up and emerging into your 20s?
I started collecting sometime around 1973, and I never really stopped. And I really give a lot of credit to my mom in that, because she's the antithesis of the story that you hear 1,000 times, is that my mom threw out my cards. My mom was just the opposite. Before I could drive, she would drive me to the few card stores that were in the area. When I got into my teens, I began to sell at flea markets, and she would sit with me out at the I-80 flea market, south of Chicago. She would, when shows started popping up, the smaller ones like hotel shows, she would drive me to those shows and drop me off and pick me up. And so, before I was 16, I was doing card shows. Wow. And then, she just played a role in helping me keep my hobby going, which, I really couldn't have done.
For all the moms out there that threw out the cards, here's an unsung hero that made up for it, certainly. And that what a great blessing to have a mom like that. So then what happened, as you get 18 and 20 and 22 and all that stuff?
Well, I go to college, Northern Illinois University, and get my degree in marketing, and end up getting out of school and jump into sales. And it's not the marketing I thought it was. It was a whole bunch of sales, and I didn't like it. I was good at it, but I didn't really like it. And I said, this is not going to work. I need to somehow find something that I can do that I like. And first things I thought of was sports cards. And I said, in the late 80s, I believe, or around 90, I said, I need to apply for Beckett. I'm single. I'm free. I'm experienced, and they probably need somebody in marketing, and sent off a resume, and a couple weeks later got a rejection letter from Fred Reed. And
I'm not even sure we had a marketing department or a sales department back
exactly.
then.
And I didn't stop there. I continued my pursuit, and I said, well, maybe there's another angle here as the different price guides start adding.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that I was doing in the Chicago area was hockey.
Okay.
I was really specializing in hockey.
Well, 90 is when we started thinking about hockey.
Exactly.
We didn't get started on it till early 91, or when?
It was late 90.
Late 90, okay.
Yeah, because I started on the 10th issue, which was July of 91. July-August cover.
But you and I talked in 90.
Correct.
We had a personal interview, because you came on my radar, and I was doing, going up and rotationally working my way around the country once a month, going to shows, and Chicago was a fabulous area. And, that was that. And I was impressed with you, but we weren't at the point where we didn't have a hiring department. We were just, and we weren't, like I said, if you'd applied for a job in marketing, I'm not sure we had a marketing department. But when you had hockey knowledge, we knew we were going to need some more hockey support. And I imagine that we hired somebody else at that point, but I absolutely kept your resume on file. And then we had another need, and I'm so glad you said yes, and came down from windy Chicago to sunny and hot Dallas.
Yeah, well, you're correct. Your first hire was Mike Hirsch, and I got to know him. Yeah. And we both intersected at there used to be the Pro Set Hockey Tour.
Right.
And they were doing a stop in Detroit, and Mike said, I think Dr. Beckett would like to meet with you. Oh. So we met for breakfast before one of those shows.
Was that how it happened?
Yeah. And it was there that you kind of tested my knowledge, and you had Mike test my knowledge. It wasn't really an interview. It was just kind of a get to know thing.
Who's scarier, me or Mike?
I think you were, just because you were the unknown. And at that time, I'd already started to get to know Mike. And we were.
Mike was an intense guy and
he knows collectors.
And a great guy. But if he told me, hey, you need to talk to Dave, I absolutely wanted to. And I'm so glad it worked out.
Well, and from that point on, I'm proud to say that I was the first ever paid regional correspondent.
What do you mean by that?
I think you were asking me to do markups and send them in every month.
Oh, okay.
And
we paid you. How did we pay you then? Was it money or was it stuff?
No, I still have copies of the first couple checks from you.
All right.
Yeah, they were personally signed by you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mark up magazines and send them in. And really,
that might have been an audition, I suppose.
Absolutely. I'm sure it was.
Because we didn't do that very often. But again, for listeners' benefit, one of the interesting things about having a small company, there are very few rules because there's not enough people to make a bunch of rules. So we did what we thought was right and made a lot more right decisions than wrong. Certainly in the hiring decisions, we were looking for skill and competence, but we also were looking for character and somebody that we thought could really be a good part of the team. In Dave, we found somebody not just who was a good part of the team in the role where he originally came into, but I look over the years and you did so many things for our company that certainly in marketing and sales, but you wore a lot of hats. Hockey was just the entry point.
That was the first 6 years, and moved on to advertising sales and spent some time running the auction division. Did some corporate sales and different show setups, and you're right. I enjoyed.
What did you enjoy the most?
Wow, I would have to say the advertising sales in the heyday.
And you're talking about with the card companies mainly, right? Because you had our biggest and most important customers that you were their guy.
Correct.
And the fact that because we had other people that applied and wanted to do that because it was where the big bucks were, but I felt, and it was warranted based on how well you did, that having a guy that understood how we did things would be the best approach for the card companies, rather than somebody that was a slick, snake oil salesman or something.
Right.
That you could speak the language, you could communicate there. If they had concerns, you could communicate to the price guide guys, and that. And I think that really was borne out because they couldn't intimidate you.
And I enjoyed that immensely because I really felt like that they did respect my hobby history.
Exactly.
I had product knowledge. And when I was recommending advertising vehicles or opportunities, that it wasn't just to make sales, it was to find the best fit for them to be successful. Mm-hmm. To be able to have companies like, Fleer and Upper Deck and Scoreboard and Donruss and Collector's Edge and Pacific, and be able to visit all of those companies and spend time with them. It really didn't feel like it was a dream, to be able to say that I'd been in Topps offices and had tours of different places. That was, it
was almost
special.
like consultative selling. I mean, you had a lot of knowledge and you could help them. And obviously you're trying to, come away with an advertising relationship that, would be consistent and mutually beneficial.
Exactly.
So what are you doing now, Dave? And I know, but for our listeners' benefit, what are you excited about now that you're doing or that you're, going to be doing? What's exciting for you in your hobby journey?
Well, my years at Beckett ended at 22, and that was in 2013.
Okay.
And I went on to a metals company, and we created some collectible products that did make it into the hobby. And I was very excited and very proud of those, but it ended up not being a direction that was big enough for.
Well, it wasn't a full-time job.
No, that was.
Oh, it was at that point?
At that point. For 2 years, I did work for Dell's Gold and Silver and Metal Minting. Yeah.
But you were also acquiring stuff, weren't you? Or putting things together? Or
at
was
that
that
time,
a small part of it?
At that time, that was just part of also working at managing their stores. I was managing 11 stores, collectibles inventory. So I was also a store manager at the same time I was taking care of products. So again, using all my different backgrounds in the hobby. And, after a period of time, it just wasn't a thing that they wanted to continue. So at the same time, my wife's illness was getting to a point where it required more care. So it was really kind of a unsuspected or really unwanted blessing that I ended up having to go out on my own because I wanted to stay. I needed to stay at home with her, but I also wanted to stay in the industry and do some things. And, I think everybody always has the dream of working for themselves. And I kind of might not have ever done it unless I really got pushed to that point. And I did it. And, I've done a lot of consulting. I created a company that I call Champion Collectibles Consulting, probably too long of a name in retrospect, but in that job, I've done some collectibles evaluations. I've done some storage lockers. I've done some, consulting. I also work with, Brian Wallows on the decision political trading card sets. We did a couple in 2016, 2017. We're going to be doing more in 2020. I enjoy that. I've also used my metals connections to help some of the card companies in the industry attain the metals that they need for their products and have them custom minted in the volumes and in the designs that they need. So again, utilizing my connections and all, in my history to help other companies, reach the things that they need to. So, I'm not as busy as I can be, but I'm as busy as I really.
Well, you're frankly a hero to the people that know you, because they know what you've been through with a wife with a very serious and rare illness, and how you've honorably dealt with that, and how you've rearranged your life and your skills and your possibilities to be an excellent husband and father in a tough situation, and still find ways to make contributions to a number of companies in this industry. So what's ahead for you? Is the best yet to come? How do you see? Are you looking for the next big idea in metals, or what do you think is going to happen? I mean, in the industry, is this the best you've ever seen it? Because it's pretty hot right now compared for the national that we experienced a while back. But and again, when we were riding hard in the 90s, it was going strong. But what's good about today in the industry? Well,
first, thanks for those kind words. I appreciate it, and I've done what I think is the best that I can do with the hand that I've been dealt, and that's the best way I explain it. But as for the industry, yes, tremendous national this year, compared favorably with what people call the penultimate national, which is 1991. I think the only difference in 91 is I think we had more card companies. And so the health can be measured in different ways, but I'm very excited and very happy with where the hobby is, and I hope I can play a small role in different companies going forward. I enjoy working from home, and I think there, as the budgets continue to collectors' budgets continue to rise, I think the opportunities for including metals also continues to grow, because people like real value in the collectibles. I mean, when you're asking $500, $700, $2,000 for a quote unquote pack, they want to know that they're getting something, and sometimes including, an ounce of gold, an ounce of silver, 5 autographs, 10 pieces of memorabilia. You need substance, and if I could play a role in supplying that substance, I love that part. I love the part of writing card backs and choosing images, and I just love all aspects and applying my knowledge. One
of the things I think you were really good at is that when you're able to remain calm when there's a lot of chaos, whether it's business, personal, family, whatever, that stuff happens, and you've been able to stay the course. And this is probably my last question. I'm just wondering, since you were working with these card companies back at the peak in the 90s there, and many of those that you consulted with are out of business. I know it's not your fault, but did you have any sense at that time that not all these companies are going to make it, and these ones are not going to make it, and these ones are going to endure? Could you see cracks, or did you just think, hey, they're all just going as hard as they can for as long as they can?
To some extent, yes. I think some of the smaller ones, I mean, when football had 7 licensed companies, you just knew that was too much. I mean, I think 1 is too few, but I think 7 was ridiculous. So sometimes I could see that, but I think a lot of the reduction has more to do with the licensors than the companies themselves. I mean, we see a lot of good people from companies that are out of business now working for companies that are in business.
And being strong contributors.
Correct. I mean, I think, virtually the majority of the staff from Fleer is spread out over Tops and Pinnacle and I believe some Upper Deck, and that just shows that.
Well, Fleer was, and you and I were part of that. It was had a nice ride, but it got kind of dysfunctional toward the end. But speaking of strong contributors, I'm speaking to one, Dave Sliepka. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk again, because you and I have some other topics that we want to get into. But thanks for your time today. Thanks, listeners. Again, we'll talk again tomorrow. And thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Jim.